Thank you so much, Karin and Joeri. It's very nice to hear your career stories because I think they're very interesting and inspiring for all of us students and alumni in the CEMS network. And now I actually want to also, if you're okay with, ask you some questions and just to let all the participants also know that you have also a chance to ask questions now. You can post them either on our Facebook page, so the Global Alumni Week Facebook page, or then in this chat, and we will check the questions from there. So I'll start with one question. It's not maybe the easiest one, but I wanted to know if you had unlimited power, what would you change in the world? That's not an easy question, but let's start with that. And you, Karin, want to start?
Yeah, I
Hmm.
mean, my dream, and unfortunately, I'm not sure even with unlimited power that you could realize it, but let's say magical power. I would want to eradicate greed.
Hmm, that's
You know,
quite a good one.
if that wasn't part of the equation anymore, things would go so much better.
That's a good
Yori,
one. And
what's yours?
Yori?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I think I would align here with Karen, or Karen would align with me. I think what the world really needs is long-term decision making. If you look at problems in societies, I think they usually come from short-term decision making. So both in politics and in corporate structures. And climate change is one of them. I think climate change you should always look at in the long term. So if I could change something, it would be that I would like to change the mindset of people towards long-term thinking and only long-term thinking.
Okay. Good answers. Interesting answers. Let's see another question that I have still here. Um, you both talked about a little bit your student life as well, and I was wondering if there would be something you could change from your student life. Would there be something you would do differently this time? Something kind of you would want the students to know and learn from. And you want to start this time?
Yeah, if I could have done something different, I think, I mean, what I think I could have done differently is maybe focus less on getting the highest of the highest grades in, and really, it maybe not something I should say in this forum, but focusing on performance and getting the best grades on your sheet. I think the student time is really there to explore and discover yourself. And SEMS is, I think, the ideal platform to do that. We have so many items built in into the SEMS program that help in terms of the internship, language learning, all the business projects. But still, I've been working a lot of night hours, burning the midnight fuel on getting the grades in. I think I could have used that time maybe in a slightly different way. Yeah.
Well, I guess I followed Yori's advice in advance, and I enjoyed myself a lot. I wish it could have lasted 10 years, but as I said earlier, student time can come back. And I think it's important that as we luckily are of the generation we will grow older and older, that we don't think of ourselves as a time to learn and then a time to work and then a time to retire, but in a much more subtle and flexible manner, especially actually for women. I mean, I didn't mention that, but I'm a mother of a 13-year-old boy. I'm a stepmother to two young adults. I have aging parents, and one I accompanied already in their, palliative care into their deaths. You need time in your life to also attend to the people you care. Again, we only have one life, or at least until proven wrong, we know that we only have one life. So what do we do with it, and how do we care for the people also around us and for the issues we care about, and not just our careers or work life?
Yeah. I really like the answers. Actually, now when you're also Karin bringing it up, I was wondering because I know you are both very busy also in your career. So how do you feel like how is the work-life balance? Has it been different throughout your career, and how do you manage it in general?
Oh, it has always been a juggle. um,
Yeah.
but I quit several times because, so for example, when I was at FSG, I was then a young mom, single mom. My parents were in Paris. I was based in Geneva. I had an international job. And then my mother was diagnosed with a cancer. And I said, oof, stop. I mean, yes, I love what I do. It was super fascinating, great clients, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, shared value thinking at Nestle and so on. But there is something more important. I want to be able to accompany my mother through her chemotherapy, and it wouldn't be possible with work. So I just quit. My mom is still with us, by the way, so good news. Not the only reason, but it was a positive news. And this is, some 10 years ago. So dare trust yourself. You will be able to jump back. Resilience is about being able to fall and come back up. And this is also one of the great criteria for leadership.
And Joeri, you have something to
Yeah, well,
comment on this as well?
yeah, well, as I already shared, I got to know that health is the most important aspect in life when my father passed away, and I was fairly young by that time. So I really learned that health should always be at the forefront of everything. And when I'm coming back from work and I'm all like stressed up, I do a lot of sports at the moment, and I really feel that that de-stresses me, and it really keeps me going, and it keeps my mind clear. It gives me the positive energy that I need. So I think that is on the one side, that health is primary goal, and also social. So for me, yeah, people. I'm an extrovert, as you might see from the camera. I'm excited connecting to people, and I get energy from talking to people. And I think those two items, they give me the energy to be successful in my professional life as well, and keep the balance.
Yeah. Great tips for the balance. Let's see if we have some questions in the chat as well. Um,
Yeah, please.
Not yet.
And it,
So please, also, if you feel free to also all the participants write questions in the chat if you have some. Otherwise, I have still at least some questions because I'm very interested in your careers. One thing that I was also thinking, because I know you both have really rewarding careers for sure, but how do you, and what ways do you kind of feel like it's rewarding? How do you feel like your career is giving back to you so you have the motivation actually to continue?
I mean, for me, it's very much that sense of making a difference.
Yeah.
That I feel I am positively changing something. And sometimes it can be at a narrow level of changing one's life, and sometimes it's much more at a field level. So, for example, I was able to work with a funder who helped discover, funded researchers who discovered that with a simple vitamin B9, you can prevent 70% of the cases of so-called spina bifida, which is a permanently disabled disease where the spinal cord is not blocked. And already women my generation and certainly yours are given vitamin B9, folic acid, when they say they would like to have a baby 3 months before the pregnancy and in 3 first months of the pregnancy. So one individual, because unfortunately they had a child born with this disease, one family was able to change literally a situation around the world. It is now common practice approved by WHO. So certainly giving back and influencing society in a positive manner. And then for myself, continue to grow and learn. I mean, develop myself.
mhm. Yeah, so for me, indeed making an impact as well, and that goes at the workplace, but also beyond the workplace. So maybe to quickly reflect, when I came to Geelen, I became a leader of a team. So before that, I was like an individual performer, contributor in a team. And when I became a leader of a team, which has now been expanding, and I think it will always keep on expanding if we keep on growing. Then what really find rewarding is that I go back home and I can see that I've inspired somebody in my team. And recently I've had 3 new joiners, and to really feel that after having been 6 years at this company, that I can contribute and that I can help them and share my experience, which is still humble but very much appreciated. So making other people happy makes me happy.
Okay. So really giving back and inspiring others is what also inspires you to go forward.
Correct.
We
Yeah.
have a few questions from the audience as well. Here's number one is, what is your biggest regret? I guess that you can do it also from your professional or personal life. You have if you have an answer, you can start.
I think we have perfect lives, Karen, huh?
No, the difficulty is the biggest. You know, there are probably a couple of
Yeah.
regrets.
Uh,
Joeri.
yeah, wow, it's a tough one, eh? Biggest regrets.
I'm not sure for me it's a regret, but I wish I was born, you know, in a different place and a different time and could experience that. So what about being part of the Roman Empire and see how it was at the time, or being part of a tribe right now in Iran Jaya that is still not connected to our civilized world and where you can still survive in harmony with nature. I mean, there are so many experiences one will not be able to do because you were born and groomed in a certain place and circumstances make you what you are. So ubiquity would be a big dream.
Okay, that's an interesting one.
Yeah, well, I would love to go to a different planet, but I think that is not a regret because it's not really currently possible just yet. Um, yeah, I think probably if I need to call it a regret, traveling maybe earlier to places that are more remote and where you probably would not travel to when you would get children, or even before that when you get a job, once you're in a career track, once you get married, once you get children. So I'm really trying now to travel as much as I can within Russia because I have a visa. I want to go to Kamchatka, the Kuril Islands. So I think I was always inspired by going to Thailand, sitting on the beach, and going to Malaysia, all these places. I really want to go to the unexplored territories, and that's maybe a regret. Yeah,
So
using the
Joeri,
time.
let me jump in with a question I'm just reading. So what about the number of children? How many do you want to have?
As many as I can physically bear growing up. Yeah, I mean, let's see how life takes chances, but I think three would be a number that I'd be very grateful for.
Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe then jumping in with Michael's question, what is the most current issue or trend in philanthropy? I think one of the big challenges is making sure, and you see that as a trend, people don't wait until they write their testament anymore to, or they will, to, consider giving a part to society, but want to do it through their lifetime. And you probably heard of the Giving Pledge that was started by Bill Gates, and Warren Buffett. The idea is really how do you help people who are ultra wealthy, and we know there is an increasing divide between the have and have nots, to actually commit significant amounts to society to tackle heads on some of the difficult issues society is faced with. And then we
Yeah,
have one from Celine.
that's a good one. I'm actually going to read one. Yes, I am curious, how do you especially influence key senior leaders to change business metrics slash business way from your experience so far?
Hmm.
Long question, but
No, I mean,
Yeah,
one,
well,
a really
go ahead,
interesting
Joeri.
one.
yeah. So, okay, from my point of view, influencing key stakeholders starts with having a plan and trying to think about what is in it for them. So currently, I am within my company liaising with the directors of the company, especially in the financial directorate, to drive cost change because that's part of the skill pool where I'm in. And I've been presenting a plan on how to really commercially, structurally look at how we can reduce costs, and have presented that to the financial director, and have immediately also provided templates and the philosophy on how to do that. So I think when you want to drive change in a company, you need sponsorship. And at the beginning, you build that from the first plus one level up. And at some point, I think, or I have felt that I felt secure enough to just jump up and yeah, try and influence the stakeholders at the top. And I think that's where the real change actually finally happens. But in order to achieve that, you need a support network to get there. And I think in that you will get more and more experience when you get into corporate structure.
I mean, fully concur and agree. When you're within a company, then there are certainly the person at the top. So the board has a key responsibility in who they select. See, when Paul Pullman joined Unilever, he really put it on a track to do good. So individuals can make a huge difference. But I think throughout the structure, people can make a difference. I recommend to everyone to listen to a TED talk by a lady called Margaret Heffernan, Hefffernan, about the obligation to dissent. Everyone should, name. And nowadays, with the digitalization of the world and the sharing, name it Panama Papers or other kind of papers that have come out, we can denounce practices. You may have read in the last 2 days that we now have the proof that Monsanto was concerned about the Roundup, their lead product, negative genetic effect, really disrupting the DNA in life all around them already since 1999. How come nearly 20 years later, we're still debating whether or not to forbid this product? So there are many people all along the chain who knew and could have spoken up. So let's dare do the right thing, literally, even if that means putting our careers and lives at risk.
That's a really interesting answer as well. I also have one question, and I think you were a bit answering this already, but I think they want a more specific answer even. So if you could give only one advice to the current STEM students, what will it be and why?
Yeah, actually, when Karin was just sharing her story, I was thinking about another advice. So I shared a few already. I think another advice, and I've seen that throughout the companies that I worked in, but also with friends, is that if you do not like your job, then just quit. Like I think we have a very good degree, like the CEMS degree, all the corporate partners that we have. I believe we're all set up for success. And if you do not feel that you can make the impact that you like to make, and Karin is a good example of that, going her own way and following her own dream, is to just say at that moment, okay, I'm gonna jump into the unknown. Either you apply for other companies or you just start your company on the side and see how it works, or you just completely quit and get a completely new way of thinking about your vision and the next step, and then just jump into the unknown and get into new opportunities. I think it can help you to stay happy and to stay focused on your vision if you feel that you're just not happy at what you're currently doing.
And I would paraphrase one of the advices you gave earlier, Joeri, which is really find your passion, something you're really good at, and you really get energy from doing that you enjoy, where work doesn't feel like work anymore. Or to use a quote by Oscar Wilde, be yourself. You know why? Because everyone else is taken.
Yeah. And on the quitting your job, check also the Holstein Manifesto, which is, I think, an exemplary one of how I live my life and how I think many of us SEM students think about the world and Generation Y. And many of us are also jumping jobs way more than our parents did back in the days. And when I talk to my parents about, or my family about potentially moving around, then you really feel the difference in generations. And I think talking to peers from our generation is sometimes more confirming of your own thoughts. And I think we on average jump like every 2 or 4 years into different companies. I've seen some reports on this, and that's just completely unimaginable in the generation of many of our parents.
And including not necessarily companies, also status, be independent for a while and have several mandates and then jump back into a real job full time and then take a part time. And don't view that, or even go through the step of unemployment and unemployment benefits. Don't view that as a stigma in society, as it still very often do, but as an opportunity to reinvent yourself and to contribute further and in a more meaningful way for you.
Take a sabbatical every now and then. Very healthy. I did the same.
Yeah, I really like how you're both really highlighting on following your passion. And I actually remember, Karin, when we talked earlier, you were also saying that you don't even sometimes separate that much your work life and your free time because you actually enjoy your job so much that you don't have to have these two silos. So I think it was also a nice way to say it on how really to enjoy your job, and so then you don't stress it. Yeah.
And vice versa. In my private life, in all categories, I'll do volunteer work where I have learned skills or be faced with experiences. So, I mean, to take if you want a negative one, but where I learned a tremendous lot, I had been recently appointed chair of the board of a nonprofit when we discovered a financial irregularity, and I started looking really, in depth into it. And actually, there had been a fraud scheme going on for 5 years. So I had to manage a crisis. So as I said at the end of the experience, okay, I was, tired and so on, but people pay to go to Harvard to do crisis management. Well, I had a free hands-on experience just right there and learn that way. So, you're also what you do in your personal life, if you want, or pro bono, can also grow yourself, contribute positively, and doesn't have to be that distinguished from your professional one.
Yeah, and to follow up on that, I forgot about saying that earlier, but I would really recommend everybody to do voluntary work. During my CEMS studies, I actually got an internship offer at Shell, and I declined it. I got it during the career forum in Budapest, because when I came out of the Rotterdam School of Management, I was really with, a lot of people that wanted to go into investment banking or management consultancy, strategy consultancy. It was either Goldman Sachs or McKinsey, and a lot of the motivators of those people were not, I think, the same motivators as why Karin chose to go for McKinsey. It was more like, I want to do the quickest way to the top, want to earn the most amount of money, so greed. And that was seen as the best way to come out of your studies. And I was kind of sick and tired of hearing all of that. So I just took a step back and I said, okay, let me get out there, go do voluntary work. So I flew to Peru, to a little place to help people that were partially sighted and deaf. And during that period, like, I've never been so happy during my life than those 5 weeks when I was just giving massages to people, because they cannot look, they cannot see, but they're very good in sensing. And I've had the period of my life. So try and do it now before you start your career.
And continue throughout your career.
True story.
Okay, I wanted to ask you still one question. Do you have some kind of professional challenge that you've had to face and overcome? Some kind of like concrete example? Can you think about something? And how did you overcome that professional challenge?
I mean, I would probably call it resistance to change, or Joeri and I both share that we are quite extrovert, but we're also risk takers. We seem to have a certain level of self-confidence that allows us to say, okay, let's just do it and we'll see what happened, despite what people around us say. But in corporate structures or in larger organizations, resistance to change, because people are afraid of what's coming and hence not understanding where you want to go. And I guess I would say, as a woman, and especially younger than the CEMS students now, 20 years ago, before the CEMS students now, you would very often in corporate circles be the only woman faced only with men. I mean, I even have a memory as a young consultant being sent to a plant where we were doing one of these crazy exercises where within 3 months you were supposed to come up with ideas to reduce the budget or the cost by 30%, increase the quality by 30%, increase the availability of production line by 30%. We welcomed by a fire actually in the plant environment because they didn't want the Mackenzies to arrive. And then I got assigned to a maintenance group team to help them do that work. And because it was a chemically dangerous plant, we got, you know, all dressed up and with goggles and hats and everything to go and visit the plant. And I shook hand and said hi, and the answer was bonjour, monsieur. And they wouldn't even imagine I would be a lady. I mean, it was unthinkable. And then, you know, I took my goggles off and they could see I was a lady. And they were like, you could see on their faces, like, what the hell are we going to do with a lady in a maintenance section of a plant? So yes, prejudices, but I think I kind of like challenges. And by the end of the mission, certainly, you know, I had good friends out there.
Yeah, that's a good example. And Joeri, do you have something you want to share as well?
On difficulties in the corporate environment.
Yeah, and overcoming then.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think I've shared quite a few already. Yeah, yeah. You know, I think you need to pick your battles, and you cannot win every battle. But I think fight the battles that you think are worth fighting for, and yeah, leave some for others to find and fight about.
Thank you. I think we're running out of time. So at least for me, I've got some key takeaways. At least follow your passion for sure.
Yep.
Do voluntary work before and during your career, and then dare to speak up for change. At least three things that I took from this webinar. And I think I'm going to let Viteke as well speak to end the webinar. But I really, really, really want to thank Karin and Joeri, both of you, for taking time from your busy schedules to be with us here and share your knowledge and experiences. I'm sure it's very inspiring for all of us. In addition to that, I also want to thank Viteke and Ning for helping us with the Global Alumni Week, the Alumni Association, the CEMS head office also for supporting, of course, our student board and our student board team, alumni relations team. And then I also want to take time to thank the local CEMS clubs for organizing all the events, as unfortunately we didn't have voice when Viteke was saying this, but this year we have over 50 events globally happening this week, which is a great amount of CEMS events. So really for the local CEMS clubs for organizing and being part of this week. It's really, we're really thankful for you to participate. Okay, thank you from my side. Thank you, Karin and Joeri, and Viteke, I'll let you sum up the webinar.
Great. So thanks everyone for participating. I think this was a very nice opportunity to engage all around the concept of alumni and showing two of our finest examples of inspiring alumni that have been nominated by you as students and alumni to actually share their stories. I also want to thank Joeri and Karin for being part of our community and actually just being here today. And Linda, of course, and Simonetta, Vicky, and as well, Malhani, to actually make this webinar a success. I think there has been a lot of work going on. Linda already thanked the CEMS clubs of the students. I, of course, in my position, want to thank the CEMS Alumni Association local committees who have also contributed with a lot of events and cooperation with the students, and of course the CEMS school staff and corporate partners that are contributing in panel discussions that have been offering their venues to this great event. So I would say we have over 50 events, 53 I think at the moment. So go to our website. We will share with you the website where you can find more details. If you go to www.cemsalumni.org, you can have under events the Global Alumni Week. If you go to that page, all events, all latest details will be there. So you can actually find out where you can go and how you register or subscribe to these events. I wish everyone a very great Global Alumni Week. If there's any information you want, as I said, you can find it on the website. We will also share this webinar and record it. And I've understood that Karin and Joeri are very kind to have offered that if there are still questions, and I've seen there is a whole list still, that they also will contribute with a couple of more answers, and we will post them on the CEMS.org and CEMSalumni.org websites and the Facebook page. So enjoy the week. Thanks, everyone. And herewith, I officially close our webinar, but open the Alumni Week for the rest of this week.
Super.
Bye, everyone.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Bye-bye.